What's up, guys? Let's talk 177 versus 22. Yeah, we got the 22 and the 177 pellets, air guns. If you're thinking about upgrading, listen before you buy, because there's some positive things and some negative things. Believe me, this guy's made some mistakes. Guys that I know, upgrading to different calibers, there's always trade-offs. And I want you to think in your head, because I put together a chart, 35. You can say 35%, because that number kind of keeps coming back around. And so as we kind of come across the new year, a little snow on the ground, people might be thinking, might upgrade my air rifles, get a 177 or get a 22 caliber, might downgrade, get a smaller caliber. But what does that buy you? What does that get you in that? So let's look at this table I put together. First is the costs. Not a huge one, $20 for the 177 8.4 grainers, 25 for the 22 8.1s, both JSB brands, 500 count 10s, 20 to 25%. Not all that bad. But then when we look at, the shot count, here is the situation. Most people don't understand that the fuel efficiency for pushing something this bigger. And so when we look at the projectile, the size and the weight, we're pushing something that's over 116% more weight in the size and the mass, right? So you're going to need more air consumption. And that's the positive thing we'll get to here in a sec. But how much shots do you get? Now, let's just take the Marauder, for instance, the Crossman Marauder, roughly 60 to 80 shots out of that rifle at like 1,000 feet per second, 177. You're probably going to get about 40 to 50 shots out of the 22, depending on what speed you set up. And so when you're looking at something a rifle that is really narrowed down, let's say a pistol, this kind of gives you a better perspective. The Woodsman Marauder, and it shoots the 22 cal pellets at like 700 feet per second. If they put a 177 barrel into that, it'd shoot probably 850 to 900 feet per second. So if we look at the speed difference for the kind of a rifle that's very constrained on the power, we're talking 200, 175, 250 feet per second, which comes down to like 35%. I know you might be thinking, well, what are you talking about? Like a rifle in I guess constrained by power. If we look at the Springers, there's a perfect example. You could have a TX 200 Springer, single cocking, that you'll get 920 feet per second out of a 177 and only like 725, 780 out of a 22. There's only so much power it can generate, and you take it on the back end of speed. Now, this might not sound like a big deal, but if you've ever shot rifles in the 600 feet per second, 700 feet per second, your drop at 50 yards is very substantial. It might not be the wind that's getting pushed around, but you got to really know your dope. You got to really know your trajectory when you're talking like 675 feet per second, 700 feet per second, because it's very noticeable from something that's shooting 800 feet per second or 900 feet per second. And then that kind of comes down to power. What are we looking at for power? This is the thing. You look at the differences in power. Do you have something, a backstop, if you're looking for a backyard friendly, or that both projectiles, let's say a 8.4 grain, 800 feet per second, you got 12 foot-pounds of energy. If you apply that 800 feet per second to the same projectile, now we're talking 26 foot-pounds of energy. It's like 116% difference. And that kind of comes back to the pellet weight. We're looking at pushing something that's 8.4 grains versus something that's 18.1 or 15 or 22. It all kind of correlates, the weight and the distribution of these things and the amount of power that it takes in the air usage. So you get a lot more power, but you got to burn, that 35, 40% or more, depending on that. And then it kind of comes down to accuracy overall. The accuracy, 177, if you want to learn how to dope the wind, or you want to learn your wind skills, shoot a 177 at 12 foot-pounds of energy, and that's about as bad as it gets, right? That pellet just blows everywhere. So at 15 or 50 yards with a 10-mile-an-hour wind, if you're shooting 880, 14 foot-pounds, you're looking at anywhere from 3 inches to 4.5 inches of drift. If you shoot a 177 roughly, or a 22 roughly at 880 feet per second, you're looking at like a 2 to 2.5 inch drift. So best case scenario, let's just say 35% difference in wind drift. So if you're shooting in harsh conditions, or your skills aren't that great, the 22 will help make up for that in hunting, and especially if you push that power. So the takeaways is, the expense isn't that much in the ammo. It's what it takes out on your rifle, and what I mean is your air consumption. Do you need an air compressor now? Are you hand pumping this? Are you doing something different? Because believe me, 30-40% drop in air usage, you'll be pumping way more. And that doesn't even go to the point if you fine tune a 177 air rifle, let's say an FX Impact with a 700cc tank, or a 500C, you can get 600 to 1,000 shots at 12 foot-pounds of energy, which equates to 800 feet per second. It's very hard to do that with any other rifle or caliber. Just know that, it's one of those things, the trade-offs. But if you're looking for power, you're looking for energy transfer downrange, and a little bit better ballistics, and air consumption is not an issue, the price isn't an issue, by all means, 22 will make you, it's substantially noticeable, definitely downrange at 50 yards in windy conditions. It just it hangs in there. And the smack on the target obviously is so much harder. So hunting, if you're looking at, just making sure you have enough, it's definitely an upgrade from a 177. So there you guys have it. Comments, questions down below. Hopefully this helps out with anybody looking at upgrading or downgrading, going to a smaller thing, and they want those benefits and that. See you later.